All right, Shalom, Yasha'Allah. Before I begin this lesson, I want to give all honor, praise, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodash, for giving me the spirit to do this lesson. This is kind of spontaneous, but Lord willing, it's edifying to the hopeful elect. All right. Shalom to you, Akwaf in order. Shalom to you, Israelites scattered abroad and may look like these other nations, but your seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, making you a Hebrew Israelite regardless of what you may appear to look like, because this thing ain't about color. It is about your seed line. If your seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, regardless of what race of people you appear to look like on the outside, then you are indeed a Hebrew Israelite, okay? Because it's all about the chosen seed line, okay? And shalom to you, Israelites on the highways and hedges, giving up your body as a living sacrifice. And you sincere listeners that watch our videos and believe in the 100% truth that is brought to you by the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Okay, they're the real prophets of these end times that the Lord has sent. And I wholeheartedly believe that through faith and, through spiritual discernment. But shalom, double honors to the elders and apostles. I'm not officially a part of their camp, but I learn strictly under their teachings, okay? And hope to one day be a part of Great Millstone officially. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in the very near future. This lesson right here, you can see this guy. I've kind of muted it at the moment, so you can see this guy here talking, and I just came across this on TikTok, and I thought I'd just quickly bust out a quick spontaneous lesson because there was like lots of precepts that came to mind. Now, I reposted it on TikTok, but anyone that sees this lesson, I just kind of want to let you know that you should take the meat from the bone, because not everything he's saying is, is on point. He's there talking about reparations and stuff like that. And, I'm going to get into that in this lesson. This lesson ain't fully about reparations, but I'm going to speak on it because reparations are coming. So just stop looking for reparations from this devil, man. And who cares? He's not supposed to give us reparations because he's a devil. And we're talking about the nation of Edom, which consists predominantly of the so-called white race. Okay, they're an evil race of people, and their track record speaks for itself. And those that may be offended, you need to do a bit more research into the secret things that this devil does on this earth, man. The policies he puts in place, the hidden racism. He likes to try and hide his racism. But this man has caused a lot of problems in this earth. He's the reason why you're working 3 jobs trying to survive. You know what I mean, so to speak. But this man's got to go in order for the world to ever see peace, because he doesn't know how to live peaceably among other races of people, okay? And he doesn't respect other people's cultures and way of life. Now, I wanna play this video, and then I'm gonna play it all the way through first of all, and then I'm gonna replay it, and I'm gonna pause it here and there, and I'm gonna speak on certain things that he's speaking about. But first, I just want to play it all the way through without interruption, so you can see what I'm talking about. As far as he made a lot of good points, but he also makes a few points that are questionable. When he talks about melanin and reparations and things of that sort. But without further ado, I'll go ahead and play this video.
So recently I've discovered something interesting. Well, I didn't discover it. I actually heard it, and I'm going to adopt it because it makes sense. There are 54 countries on the continent of Africa that are black countries. And there are 16 in the Caribbean that are black countries. That means that there are 70 black countries out of 195 countries in the world. 70. Which means that the other 125 is out there. Not one of those 70 countries have a nuclear weapon of mass destruction. And not one of those countries have ever inflicted harm on any other countries. Check that out. Our ancestors have left nothing behind that someone could say we're ashamed of. We are the product of probably the purest race of people on the planet that is not responsible for any genocide in any other countries. We're not responsible for any mass shooting in any country. We're not responsible for going into other people's country and taking what doesn't belong to them. Check that out. Go Google it. We are what the United Nations has been looking for. The race of people looking for peace. And yet, we are one of the most victimized group of people on this planet. Others came and take, continuously taking. They pillage and they use deception, contracts, everything to gain access to resources that doesn't belong to them. And then they live great after that, while we suffer. No reparations. I discovered here in Canada when I went to Winnipeg, Manitoba at the Human Rights Museum. I knew some of this before, but seeing it in real time is amazing. The Japanese, the Chinese that got victimized in Canada all got reparations. The Jews, they all got reparations for the Holocaust. We have yet to see it. After 400 years of incarceration, after 400 years of being pulled and pushed and prodded and killed and maimed and used and abused into slavery, which is still happening to this day, we have yet to receive one iota of any reparation. And yet here we are, the melanin race. Everyone have seen us. They can't miss us. Yet at times we are the most invisible. Welcome to the human race.
So, as you just saw, he's talking about the melanin race. Let's address that first off before, I actually play this video and dissect it. But since it's one of the last things he spoke about, let me just touch on that real quick. There ain't no such thing as the melanin race, okay? Having melanin doesn't make you a race of people. You have East Indians that have a lot of melanin in their skin. Some of them are darker than us, darker than me, that doesn't make us the same people. You have biblical nationalities, biblical nations of people in this world, right? 18 of them to be exact. And the nation of Israel consists of 12 tribes that are melanated, but they're different shades of melanin. And you also have people that look like so-called white people whose seed line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, making them Hebrew Israelites. Okay. Now, I'm not saying a lot of them. Well, I'm not saying all of them, but you'll be surprised how many of them actually go back to Jacob. Okay. So it's not about melanin, first off, but I get where he's going with it. You know what I mean? Because when you think of it in the terms of like Africa and Jamaica, so-called black countries, we've been the most peaceful people on earth. We haven't gone around rape, robbing, and murdering people and stealing their land and resources which all goes back to, the reputation that we're going to leave behind when all is said and done, because, it's better to have a good name in this world than, going around and doing these things and gaining the whole world but losing your soul in the process. You know what I'm saying? A good name is worth a lot. The scriptures actually speak on this, and let me just quickly bring that out as my first preset. I wasn't going to, but hey, this is where the Spirit's leading me to. All right, so this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 22 and verse 1. It says, a good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. So this is something that Esau doesn't have after all is said and done. You know what I mean? He's not leaving behind a good legacy. Although he's gained a lot of riches and wealth, and he's got the whole world looking at him like some mighty man, like he's civilized the whole world, like he's the rightful ruler of the world. He's got everybody fooled right now, but all that's coming to an end too in the near future, because truth will always prevail. And this man was created to be the devil, not the peacemaker, not the righteous or the chosen, as they like to prance themselves around about in the land of Israel right now, pretending to be the chosen. Yeah, they're the same people, right? They're the same people that stole the world and stole America, and now they're in Israel committing genocide to the Palestinians. The world don't know yet that these are the same people, but they will. And they don't have a good name in this earth, and they're not going to leave behind a good name in this earth. So all this going around stealing what don't belong to them is not going to profit them in the end. That's why the scriptures say here, and the scriptures are the truth. As words packed, the scriptures are packed with wisdom, man. But it says, Proverbs 22 and 1, I'll read it again. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches. See? So it's better to keep hold of your integrity and leave a good name in this earth than to go around and do what this so-called white man has been doing by stealing other people's stuff and gaining popularity and wealth and status in this world. Okay, it's better to be patient and wait on the Lord for the justice that's coming. Okay, because then we're gonna live happily ever after while this devil's out of here, man. And ain't gonna be able to enjoy the kingdom of heaven, which is gonna be like a paradise on earth. He ain't gonna be able to enjoy it, because of the fact that he chose the wrong way to live in the earth. All right. Now I got another preset I want to pull out that's similar to this, to be fair. In the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7 and verse 1, it says, a good name is better than precious ointment, and a day of death than the day of one's birth. So a good name is better than precious ointment. Precious ointment is what can heal you, make you healthy. That's very precious, right? But a good name is more precious than that. Okay. Now, I got another thing I want to bring out, another precept, right? Because this is more fitting to the legacy that Esau is going to leave behind. This is the book of Job, chapter 20 and verse 11. It says, his bones are full of the sin of his youth, which shall lie down with him in the dust. See? So this is talking about the so-called white man, Esau, Edom. Okay? And like I said in the intro of my lesson, it's not all so-called white people, but those whose seed line goes back to Esau. Okay? Because Esau is the progenitor of the white race and the so-called white race, and they are the wicked of the earth according to the Bible, right? But that doesn't mean everybody that appears to look like a so-called white person is an Edomite, because of many generations of seed mixing. Many generations of Israelites having babies with other nations. Now you have certain Israelites that look like white people on the outside, but their spirit is a so-called black person, if you understand what I'm saying. Right. So it says his bones are full of the sin of his youth. Okay. And it's talking about when he first came into power and they went around lying, rewriting history, stealing people's land and cultures, and murdering and, just basically committing a lot of wickedness, right? So his bones are full of sin of his youth. It says, which shall lie down with him in the dust. So basically, when all is said and done, this man's going to leave behind a bad legacy. It's something that he cannot remove. It's always going to be there as a testimony against him. Okay. It says, though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, though he hide it under his tongue. See, because they always they like to throw the rock and then hide their hand. They always play like they're the victim, or like they're innocent, or like they're the good guy. The scriptures speak about how, even Satan is transformed into an angel of the light, roughly paraphrasing. That's talking about these people, man. They pretend to be doing good for the earth. Oh, we're fighting global warming. We're doing this, we're doing that. When the whole time they're causing the problems, okay? And then they want to play like they're the ones trying to fix these problems, when the whole world will benefit when these people are gone, because of the systems that they've set up. It's caused nothing but wickedness in this earth, right? So it says, though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, because this is all they think about, is how to spread more wickedness and division in the earth. It says, though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, though he hide it under his tongue, though he spare it and forsake it not, but keep it still within his mouth, yet his meat in his bowels is turned. It is the gall of asps within him. He hath swallowed down riches, and he shall vomit them up again. The Most High shall cast them out of his belly. Now, I'll probably turn back to this in a few minutes, this particular scripture in verse 15, because it's relating to that reparations topic that the guy was speaking about, all these other places like Israel and this and that have gotten reparations, but the black people haven't, so-called black people haven't. But we're going to get our reparations. The scriptures say it. You're reading part of it right here. It says he have swallowed down riches, and he shall vomit them up again. So all this wealth that he's accumulated and he's hoarding at the moment, he's going to have to cough that up soon, okay? And we're going to enjoy the fruits of this world without him, okay? Because it's the only way we can ever enjoy the world as it was meant to be enjoyed. The Lord created this world to be a paradise, but this man single-handedly has turned it into a living nightmare. This is why, a lot of people that like to defend the so-called white man, they always point the finger at us like we're being racist and hateful and this and that, and the Lord loves all people, when we've proven with scripture many times over that this is not the case, okay? That's the religion they gave you, okay? And you got to recognize it for what it is. It's never done our people any good, man. And we've proven this without a shadow of a doubt many, many times over and over in our lessons. But, it's only for the wise to consider, the ones that the Lord is actually dealing with. The rest of you're just going to have to go down with him, man. Okay. Though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished, the scriptures speak about, man. Okay. So if you join hands with this devil, you're going to have to go down with him. Now, I'm going to play the video from the beginning again, and we're going to dissect it, okay? So, Lord willing, you're edified.
So recently I've discovered something interesting. Well, I didn't discover it. I actually heard it, and I'm going to adopt it because it makes sense. There are 54 countries on the continent of Africa that are black countries. And there are 16 in the Caribbean that are black countries. That means that there are 70 black countries out of 195 countries in the world. 70. Which means that the other 125 is out there. Not one of those 70 countries have a nuclear weapon of mass destruction. And not one of those countries have ever inflicted harm on any other countries.
Now, this goes back to the topic that I was just speaking on, how, he's going to leave behind a bad reputation, while, we of the hopeful elect, we are looking for a good, we're hoping for a good legacy to leave behind, especially in these end times, us doing the work of the Lord. Scriptures say to lay up your treasures in heaven. Now, this man has gone around, and this is the characteristics of Esau. He's like, to hell with what's important, such as his birthright. He wants the benefits of the now. He likes it. He likes what he can get now, and he doesn't care about the consequences of his actions as long as he can get satisfaction now. This is because Esau lives through life like a child. He's a childish person, hence the reason why, when they drink alcohol, they act like fools and hooligans and idiots, when they drink, walking down the street, ooh, all that kind of crap. Just, looking like a damn fool, man, because Esau is a child at heart. A child doesn't think of things logically in a wise way, like, oh, if I do this now, it's going to affect me later. He doesn't think that way, hence the reason why he sold his birthright for a little bit of food, because he was hungry. He wanted that food there and then, and he said, to hell with my birthright, man. But, we think, we of the hopeful elect, we think in a different way. We're not trying to have fun in this world now because we know it's about to be destroyed, and we're storing up our treasures in heaven, just as the scriptures say. Let me bring that out real quick. All right, so this is the book of Matthew, chapter 6 and verse 19. It says, lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. And that thief is talking about Esau, okay? He rob you in taxes and all sorts of stuff. So why invest in this world that's corrupt, This is basically what it's saying, it's better to do the work of the Lord, sacrifice your life on this side, this messed up nightmare that Esau has made, right? Because there's nothing here for us anyway, right? So it's best to sacrifice that for, your reputation's sake, which is eternal, right? That's what it basically is saying. It's saying, do the work of the Lord, so that way you leave behind a good legacy that's going to last forever, okay? It says, but in verse 20, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth doth corrupt, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through and steal. I might as well highlight this bit too. So verse 21, it says, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So if your heart is invested in this world, that's where your treasure is, man. Just like Esau, okay, which is going to end up being a curse unto him. You don't want to follow in them same footsteps, man. Esau is going to leave behind a horrible legacy, okay? And, we're going to leave behind a good legacy because we chose the path of righteousness by doing the will of the Lord and by opening the eyes of the hopeful elect, okay? Our life has value while the rest of these people were born in vain, okay? Just as the scriptures state in the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 9 and verse 22.
Check that out. Our ancestors have left nothing behind that someone could say we're ashamed of. We are the product of probably the purest race of people on the planet that is not responsible for any genocide in any other countries. We're not responsible for any mass shooting in any country. We're not responsible for going into other people's country and taking what doesn't belong to them. Check that out. Go Google it.
And he's right. haven't left behind a legacy that Esau has. That's why, you know, all these things he's done in the earth didn't benefit him in the end, man. You know, the scriptures speak about how he, you know, he's got shame for glory. You know, we've been poor and downtrodden and lived, you know, a lot of people say, would you rather be a black man or a white man? And they say, oh, I'd definitely rather be a white man because black people have no rights. And, you know, you people are, you know, everybody wants to be black, but they don't want to experience what black people have experienced. When I say black, I mean so-called black, you know. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to pull out that scripture I was speaking about because these people have inherited shame for glory. You know, these people are full of shame now. They don't have no glory in this world at the end of all of it. You know, it didn't benefit them. This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 16. Thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of Yahweh's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be upon thy glory. See? So, so they're filled with shame for glory, it says. Instead of glory, all they've inherited is shame because of the way they've got their riches. It says, drink thou also, right? So basically, they're going to have to drink of the cup that we had to drink. They're going to experience what it's like being the least respected race of people on the earth and the most hated race of people on the earth because we've had to endure that. We've had to drink that cup. The cup of the Lord's wrath, the cup of the Lord's judgment. Now they're going to have to drink that cup. That's why it says, drink thou also. It says, and let thy foreskin be uncovered, because these people are going to be exposed for who they really are. Because for the longest, they've pranced around this earth and had people fooled into thinking that they're, you know, they're righteous people and that they civilize the world. You know, through their movies, their Hollywood movies and everything, they always glorify themselves as being the good guy. And, you know, the so-called black people as being the idiots or the people that you can't take serious. You know, the drug dealer, the gangbanger, the rapper, all of this stuff, you know. But now it's going to be brought to light that these people are the devil of the Bible. You know, they're the wicked. They're the ones that are the root cause of all problems on earth. So that's why it says, let thy foreskin be uncovered. It says, the cup of Yahweh's right hand shall be turned unto thee. See, because they're going to have to drink of the cup of the Lord's fury, man. It says, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. Because, you know, now everybody's bringing up their past that they've tried so hard to hide. They even put laws in place to ban people from talking about certain things to do with their history because it's shameful. They don't have a shameful legacy. I mean, they don't have a good legacy to leave behind in this world. It's all full of shame. You know, from buck breaking, redlining, Jim Crow, alligator bait. The list goes on. You know, these people have been the author of all mischief against the Israelites. Let me quickly bring that out, man, because that's another good precept. So this is the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 7 and verse 31. It says, and thou, talking about the Edomites, the so-called white people, starting with the elites of that nation. It says, and thou that hast been the author of all mischief against the Hebrews shall not escape the hands of God, it says, right? So they've been the reason behind all the problems that the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans have had to face in this earth. They've been the hand behind it all. And they're not going to escape the hands of the Lord. It's not going to end well for them. Because they seem to think in their polluted mind that they're going to just ride off into the sunset with everything they've done to us. And that no harm is going to come to them for it. When they're absolutely wrong, man. They're going to have to drink of that cup in the very near future because what you're seeing now, the downfall of their society, the downfall of their kingdom, it's only going to get worse from here on out. You know, their glory days are over and they don't even realize it. They seem to think that they can make America great again and all this stuff when there's nothing but hardship coming for these people from now on. The prices of food is going to keep going up. It ain't going down. And then ultimately to the point where there is no food anymore. You know, this world war is going to escalate into the point where it starts touching your doorstep. But the only ones that are going to be protected are those that put their trust in the Lord, okay? The rest of you, it's time for your judgment. You know, if you don't want to cleave to what the prophets are saying and you want to keep holding on to this man and looking up to him like he's the dog's bollocks, so to speak, then you can go down with this devil, man. And we don't care because you've had plenty of warning. But you called us crazy.
We are what the United Nations has been looking for. The race of people looking for peace. And yet, we are one of the most victimized group of people on this planet. Others came and take, continuously taking. They pillage and they use deception, contracts, everything to gain access to resources that doesn't belong to them. And then they live great after that, while we suffer.
See, that's only for now. You know, them going around stealing and living good and then us having to suffer. That's only for now, you know. Let me bring out a precept or two real quick, okay? This is the book of John, chapter 10 and verse 10. It says, "The thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly." See? So this devil, the so-called white man, all they've done in their history, right? And you can check this out for yourself. It don't take much research. All they've done is steal, right? That's why it calls him the thief. There's many names for Esau in the Bible. Okay, it's not going to say the white people. It's going to call him by his biblical nationality, which is Esau or the Edomites. Or it's going to call him the thief, the ungodly, the wicked, the serpent. There's many names, but it's all talking about the same people, the people that have caused all the problems in this world. Okay, this is what it's all talking about. So it says the thief cometh not, but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. And what do? They go around stealing people's land. They steal by killing and they destroy countries, hence the reason why people have to migrate to other countries and then are not welcome by the same people that have caused the problems in the first place. You understand? So they destroy countries by destabilizing them and setting up puppet leaders and stuff like that, overthrowing governments, setting up coups. So this is what they do. They destroy your life, they kill and they steal. They'll steal through taxes, robbing you of your income, your wages. They'll kill you through their pharmaceutical industry, with their medicines and their fake doctors and stuff like that, So this is what the devil does, man. He said, but the Lord says that I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. See? So we're going to have real life because we trust in Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai. So he's going to bless us with real life because this ain't life. This ain't living under this devil's rulership, because all they've come to do is, they were created for the day of evil. So they were created to kill and destroy and steal. But the Lord came that we can be delivered from this devil, which is what true salvation is about. For all these Christians in the church talking about I'm saved, you ain't saved yet because you're still living under this devil, man. But those that trust in the Lord and endure to the end will be saved from this devil, man, and have life more abundantly. So that's why the Lord came. That's why he sacrificed his life on the cross for us. which is deeper than most people can, than a lot of people can really grasp. They can't really comprehend it. But trusting in the Lord is what's going to bring real life, although it seems foolishness to most people in this world, man. Okay. Might as well read verse 11. Oops, wrong color. It says, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep. See? So when you trust in the Lord, you become his sheep. And his sheep hear his voice, okay, which is coming through the prophets. The scriptures say, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them and they follow me. So he gives his life for the sheep. This is why he died on a cross for us, so that we can have true life. Because this ain't it, man. Okay.
No reparations. I discovered here in Canada when I went to Winnipeg, Manitoba at the Human Rights Museum. I knew some of this before, but seeing it in real time is amazing. The Japanese, the Chinese that got victimized in Canada all got reparations. The Jews, they all got reparations for the Holocaust. We have yet to see it. After 400 years of incarceration, after 400 years of being pulled and pushed and prodded and killed and maimed and used and abused into slavery, which is still happening to this day, we have yet to receive one iota of any reparation. And yet here we are, the melanin race. Everyone have seen us. They can't miss us. Yet at times we are the most invisible. Welcome to the human race.
Now let's dissect this reparations argument, because the reason that all these other countries have received reparations, all these other races of people, is because they're not the Israelites. The Israelites are hated because it all goes back to Jacob and Esau. There's always been enmity between us. There's always been beef between us. It's an ancient hatred that goes back to the womb of Rebekah, okay? In the story of Jacob and Esau in Genesis 25 and verse 19 on down, okay? Now, let's dissect this reparations thing, because although we are not receiving reparations on this side, so don't even think about it, you're never gonna see it. Okay, he's never gonna like you and never gonna. Where's he gonna get the money from? You know, he's got all money for war and stuff like that. He ain't gonna dig out the money out his ass for us during this time where he's trying desperately to keep hold of his kingdom. You think he's gonna all of a sudden fork out money for us during this desperate time of his rulership? The Lord's about to take everything he has and give it to us, man. Okay. Check this out. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 10 and verse 8. It says, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. So because of all the things this man did to achieve his position in this world, which is unrighteous, okay, he's not the rightful ruler of the earth. The only reason that the so-called white man rules the earth is because they stole their way to that position, okay? And it's not blessed of the Lord, okay? But it was approved of the Lord, because nothing happens in this world without the Lord's approval. He did approve it to fulfill prophecy. Just like he hardened Pharaoh's heart and lifted up Pharaoh just to destroy him, the same thing's happening with the modern day Pharaoh being the Edomites. Okay, it says because of unrighteous dealings. How did they get the world? Did they get it fairly, you know, through trade deals and, you know, agreements and stuff like that? No, he got it through unrighteous dealings. What about injuries? Didn't he not go around and kill people to get to the position he's holding? Riches got by deceit. He went around and stole people's riches, okay? Now, because of these things, he's going to have to pay for that. It says because of these things, it says the kingdom It's translated from one people to another. So if you turn quickly to the book of 2 Ezra, chapter 6 and verse 9, it says that for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So Esau, the so-called white man, is ruling at the end of the world, this slum, this ghetto, this freak show of a world that he's created, right? This mess that he's made. He's the ruler of this dump. It says, but Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, talking about the new earth. Okay, the Lord says that he's going to make this world new and beautiful for us. Okay, let me quickly pull that up, right? Glorious. Escaped. There we go. That's all I need to put. So this is Isaiah 4 and 2. It says, in that day, right, the day of the Lord, after the Lord returns, right, the new earth, it says, in that day shall the branch of Yahweh be beautiful and glorious, talking about the Israelites, the people, the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. We're not going to be ghetto, twerking on the top of cop cars and acting a damn fool, fighting in the streets, twerking in the middle of a restaurant with children in front of you. You know, our women all fat and ugly. They ain't going to see none of that, man, in the kingdom of heaven. It says, because it says, the branch, in that day shall the branch of Yahweh be beautiful and glorious. Women are going to have your hair back. Your natural hair is going to be long and beautiful and healthy. Our skin is going to be healthy. You ain't going to have spots and dark spots and scars everywhere, because we're going to have new bodies. Brand new, fresh bodies that are always going to stay fresh. It says, in the fruit of the earth, right? The earth itself, the trees, the rivers, the animals. It says, the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely for them that are escaped of Israel. Does it say that are escaped of the whole world? No, because the world was created for the Israelites, and the Lord's going to give it back to us, because right now it's given into the hands of the wicked, pursuant to Job 9:24. Right? So the earth is going to be beautiful and comely, excellent and comely for them that are escaped of Israel. I'm going to leave that there. Right, I've got a few more scriptures I want to bring out, then we'll close it out relating to, you know, the reparations, right? So let's go to the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, and verse 17. It says, but upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness. See? So Mount Zion is talking about the Israelites, okay? That's where deliverance is coming. The Lord is only coming to deliver the children of Israel that have been scattered among all nations that look like all nations now, okay? So you're going to have people that look like so-called white people that are going to be delivered too. Because, you know, if your seed line goes back to Jacob, then you're an Israelite. It says, but upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness. It says, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. See? So we're going to possess everything that they possess. All their nice houses, you know, all of that. We're going to possess that. Okay? Although we're going to make it better. We ain't going to be wanting to live in a house that Esau's been dwelling in. We're going to be fixing these things up to our standards. Okay, we're going to possess their riches, their gold, everything, their precious stones, all these things that they possess, we're getting ready to possess. Okay, that's true reparations. So don't wait upon him to give you reparations, because it ain't never going to happen, man. Let's turn to the book of Job, chapter 20. And we're going to read verse 10 to start with. It says, his children shall seek to please the poor, which is why you see TikTok videos of so-called white people complaining about, you know, the crime of their people, you know, the wickedness of their own people, throwing us in alligator Alcatraz and all that. You got so-called white people doing all kinds of videos, you know, explaining the wickedness of Esau. Because they're trying to please the poor, which is us. His children shall seek to please the poor, and his hands shall restore their goods. See? So everything they stole, they're going to give it back. You know? Let's read Job 20 from 17 on down. It says, he shall not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks of honey and butter. Talking about the kingdom. This man ain't gonna get, he may see it while he's working, because he's going to be building it. Just like we built America, just like we built everywhere, really. You know, they used us as slave labor to build. The Lord going to do the same to them, because they have to drink of that cup. The cup of the Lord's right hand is going to be turned unto them, remember? But they didn't consider the latter end. It says, he shall not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks of honey and butter, that which he labored for. See, all the things he stole, that which he labored for shall he restore. That's true reparations. And shall not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restitution be, and he shall not rejoice therein. So according to all he has, all his substance, everything he possesses, shall the restitution be. See, he's going to have to restore everything he has. In the end, you know, it's not going to turn out well for the so-called white man. It says, because ye have oppressed and have forsaken the poor, because ye have violently taken away an house which he builded not. See, rape, robbing, and murdering, stealing everybody's stuff, man. He's going to have to restore that. It says, surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly. So, you know, when you eat down something that's beautiful, savory, it's really, you know, you eat down the delicacies, like some sweet treats, and you're just gobbling it down. Oh, this tastes good. This tastes so good, right? That's what Esau did when he's going around stealing people's land and living good off their land. But in the end, in the long term, it's not going to benefit him, because it's not going to sit quietly in his belly. He's not going to be satisfied with what he stole. He's going to have a shameful legacy. So he's going to sit there like a fat king with his cigar in his mouth while everyone's angry at him and pointing at fingers at him like you're a damn demon, right? He's not gonna lie in glory after all that he stole, man. He's not gonna live happily ever after, basically. So it says, surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly. He shall not save of that which he desired. See, he desired to live like a king in the world, but it's not gonna go the way he planned. It says, therefore shall none of his meat be left. Therefore shall no man look for his goods. See? So that's the end of you devils, man. Okay. Now, I got another scripture I want to bring out in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 8. This might make this my last precept. It says, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee. Because of men's blood and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. So you're going to be spoiled in the end for the fact that you spoiled everybody else, man. Okay, so, you know, it's not gonna turn out well for you in the end. Now, there was one other thing I wanted to bring out, because, you know, the guy spoke in the beginning of his video about how, you know, we're the only ones that haven't gone around building nuclear weapons and that they have. Well, that's going to come back on them too, because this is how the Lord is going to take them out of power. Those very nukes that they created is not going to turn out well for them either, because the Lord's going to have them use those very nukes that they created to kill and slaughter billions of people on the earth. He's going to have them use it on themselves and take themselves out. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 7, starting at 15. It says, he made a pit and digged it, and is fallen into the ditch which he made. You know, building them nukes is a pit that you dug for yourself, man. It says, his mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealing shall come down upon his own pate, which is the top of your head, the crown of your head. So, you know, your violent dealing, building those nuclear weapons and planning to use them, is only going to come down on your own head. It says, I will praise Yahweh according to his righteousness, and will sing praises to the name of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Most High. See? So, you know, we're in the right spirit that are praising the Lord, but these devils, it's the end of them, because the Lord said that he's going to bring them nukes down upon their own people, right? Let's prove this with one more scripture, and then we'll close it out. This is Isaiah 34, starting at 5. It says, for my sword, talking about them nukes, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, upon the top of your pate. Idumea is a Greek term for the nation of Edom, which is the so-called white man. So it says, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people. See, and so it's not talking about the land, it's talking about the people. And upon the people of my curse to judgment. The people of the Lord's curse are the wicked. Okay? So this is what's going to happen in order to take them out of power and translate the kingdom from one people to another, from Esau to Jacob. Lord willing, you've been edified by this lesson. I'm going to close it out here. I want to give all honor, praise, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodash, Shalom.